Big press conference in Tuscaloosa today at 11 o'clock. Tua Tagovailoa and Nick Saban going to address the press at 11 a.m. Central Time. Xavier McKinney, the All-SEC safety, and Jerry Jeudy, the All-American wide receiver, already made their mind up. They're going to leave and forego the remaining eligibility they have left. Dylan Moses is going to return to school. What do you expect to happen here with Tua at 11?
Well, I've kind of expected him to leave, obviously, all season, and then the injury happens, and you second guess that. I'm still going to kind of stick with him leaving, just because it's what I always thought he would do, and I think I've seen some people write that he's still gotten a top 10, top 15 grade. So I still think he's going to leave, but I don't know for sure, and he certainly talked like he was very seriously considering coming back.
Do you know the diagnosis on whether or not he would be able to participate next year, whether it be in the NFL or in college football?
I don't know. Outside of them saying originally that it was a 2 or 3 month recovery process, in that by spring he would have been hoped to throwing the ball around and then getting a little better mobility in the summer. I mean, it's a long process, and the hips are certainly, a serious injury. It's not maybe quite as serious as like, a spinal injury or neck or something like that, but it would be like number 2 behind it, So yeah, I mean, it could be a little while before he really is like 100%. Maybe it could be late midsummer or something before that.
How do you interpret Saban being at the press conference today?
Well, just them having a press conference tells me that he might be very well staying. Why have a press conference if you are going to leave? But we've seen that happen before. As far as Nick being there, everything you hear, see, and read about Nick's relationship with Tua is one that's very good, solid, strong, close relationship. So I assume he wants to be there, whether he makes the decision to stay or leave school.
Ross Dellenger joining us here every Monday, just like he does from Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. We're a week out from the national championship game, Ross. When you talk about this game and the storylines that are starting to brew underneath kickoff next week at 7 o'clock, what's some of the things that stand out to you?
Well, obviously, to me, the big one is the 2 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, 2 of the best in the game, most talented in the game, maybe the next 2 number 1 draft picks, Joe this year and Trevor next year. If you listen to scouts, they'll tell you the Bengals are taking Joe this year, and they're telling you that Trevor Lawrence right now is in the catbird seat for the number 1 pick next year. So obviously things might change with Tua coming back, But yeah, I mean that's what it looks like right now. So that's a big one. For me, also a big matchup is Clemson receivers against LSU secondary, because nobody has been able to certainly not stop LSU. Very few teams have been able to even slow them down. So I don't necessarily expect Clemson to do that. So if that's not going to happen, then Clemson's going to have to score some points, 30, 35, 40 points. And I think in order to do that, their receivers are going to have to beat LSU's DBs, which include, 2 or 3 first rounders, So that's a big matchup for me.
Yeah, it seems like you felt the impact of those guys. We're talking about Stingley, Fulton, Delpit. You've been feeling them more and more lately. And this LSU defense as a whole has been a bit resurgent, Ross. How do you feel that the LSU defense matches up with that offensive attack from Clemson?
Yeah, they've been playing pretty tremendous the last few weeks, or last few games. I talked to Dave Aranda and Bill Bush over in Atlanta about that. They've gotten better each week, and Dave is able to have kind of settled into kind of a plan more so. I think he just knows his defense better, and they know players. They know the defense better. I think they're playing more, a little more like 4-3 than maybe they have. They just kind of, just plain and simple, they just kind of settled in with some things, and we're seeing them play, incredibly well. It's kind of been the surprise late in the season to see a team do a lot of numbers. I went back over my Dave Arena transcript while I'm talking here. They're actually playing more 3-4. He said,
Yeah.
And they were a limited number. They were limited in numbers of different calls they can make. I think earlier in the season, just because they were new, just like any team would be new. A lot of different pieces on defense, and now he's able to make more calls. And then that's, I know, what Dave likes, is to have the ability to make more calls. And I still don't think Dave Aranda has had a defense at LSU where he's been versatile enough and been able to make different calls than his last year at Wisconsin. He made a ton of different calls, and they were this crazy kind of wild defense that morphed into different formations and things like that. We haven't seen that yet, but maybe we're starting to see that late this year.
Yeah, I feel like they've been going that direction. I've described it. We're in the era of positionless basketball. They got some positionless football going on with guys like Delpit and Stevens and company. Ross, I want to ask you about Joe Burrow. I have multiple times this year used the analogy that he's like a Marvel superhero, right? Because you just always know at the end of the day, doesn't matter how dire it may look, he's going to win. He's going to get it done. You've covered Burrow very closely. I don't want any on the field stats, anything like that. Just from a kind of human element, what are the traits? What kind of characteristics or personality quirks have you seen out of Burrow, and that makes him maybe able to handle this national championship game setting?
He's a different guy in a lot of different ways. He's kind of a quirky guy. He just handles himself a little differently than a lot of other players I've been around, and I think he handles the pressure differently too. He's just, I don't know, he's just so carefree about so many things going on around him. He's just one of those guys, it's like the shrug emoji. That's like Joe Burrow. He's just the shrug emoji. He just shrugs about everything. It's just, he lets so many things kind of roll down the old back. He doesn't seem to get too ruffled or upset. And so I think all that's going to help when you look at big pressure, big games, things like that. I think all that kind of helps. And I think he'll take it and try,
Delly, what's the assignment look like for the week?
Well, I've been working on a piece for a while now that I just can't come around to finish, but about Ed Orgeron in the Cajun culture. The Cajuns right now in South Louisiana are going through a real hard time. The oil industry is drying up. T-Bob probably knows, his dad being from down there. Things are not good down there. And despite that, they are getting some hope from the big guy, the big Cajun man who's got the Tigers number one in the championship. So I've been working on this big piece that hopefully will drop mid to late this week, and then I'll be arriving into New Orleans on Thursday, and obviously we have media day Saturday and so on, and the game gets here, like you guys said, in a week.
Ross, got about a minute. Joe Moorhead out at Mississippi State. Thoughts there, and who replaces him?
Yeah, been kind of tracking this story for the last few days, and John Cohen's certainly on the trail right now doing interviews. I think there's a long list of people he's talked to. I mean, maybe a dozen or more. There's a lot of names out there that you hear. Joe Judge, special teams guy at the Patriots, Todd Grantham. I think there was a look to Gene Chizik. There's a lot of names out there, and I don't know until Billy Napier's name obviously been mixed around, but he seems to have pulled his name out. But never say never. It's a silly season, so who knows?
Delly, we'll see you Thursday, man, and have a safe trip.
All right, guys. See you.